Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Jacob Campbell here with your WeatherNow forecast. So before I get started, I wanted to let you guys know that I do have a Twitter account now, and it is twitter.com/weathernow7. And so if you follow me on Twitter, you'll get some special analysis of different storms and whatnot from me on there that you wouldn't necessarily get on YouTube. So definitely check it out and give me a follow. And I may end up following you back. I'm only following, I think, like 7 or 8 people right now. But anyway, this weekend is going to be a very calm weekend. And so I just wanted to start out with the temperatures because, honestly, not much happening this weekend. So we do have this little area of low pressure down here in the Kentucky-Tennessee area, accompanied by a high pressure in Canada. So high runs to low. And so we've got this channeling of cold air from that high pressure to the low pressure down here. And so it's going to bring temperatures in the 50s and 40s and 30s even in some areas. I live right around here in Indiana, and man, it's chilly. It does not feel like spring right now. It's pretty chilly. But the New England area has warmed up, and so we've got areas of Maine in the 50s, and then as you go further south, you get into the 70s in New York, so definitely good news for them. Down the East Coast, it's fairly warm as well, temperatures remaining in the 60s and 70s for most places. Florida cools down a bit, and it's weird to say they've cooled down a bit because they're going to be in the 70s, the mid-70s. Then if you go into this Great Plains region, you're going to get temperatures in the 80s, and then some spotty areas throughout Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, and even Southern California, and parts of Nevada. You're going to see temperatures nearing 100 degrees. Very toasty for you guys. And then if you live in this Pacific Northwest area, it's going to be in anywhere from the 50s to the 60s, and even some spotty 70s. Even the Rocky Mountains are pretty warm. Going to see temperatures throughout the 50s, but remember, these are highs. Moving on to the low temperatures, chilly, incredibly chilly. Parts of the Midwest getting down into the 20s and 30s. Other parts near the Ohio River Valley going to maintain the 50s in some areas. As you go to the East Coast, from pretty much the southern tip of Maine down to about North Carolina, you're going to get temperatures in the 60s, and this is just as a result of a cold front not pushing through. So we can see where that cold front is kind of stalled right here, and so that will push out by the end of the weekend. And Florida going to be in the 60s, so going to be pretty chilly for people from Florida. I don't know exactly what you would call yourself if you were from Florida, but in the Great Plains area and the Texas area, you guys are going to be in the 50s, and Arizona, Nevada, and Southern California, those areas that we were seeing those hundreds in the daytime, you guys can expect temperatures in between the 60s and the 70s. Down the West Coast, same sort of story, going to be in the 50s and 60s. Mountainous areas are going to be in the 30s. The Rocky Mountains, mountaintops, you're going to be down in the 20s. Moving on to Sunday's high temperatures, big warm-up for, well, the Midwest, and then that little area of low pressure is going to push off to the east more, bringing those colder temperatures to Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina. The remainder of the New England area is going to stay in the 60s and 70s, so still nice and warm for them. Florida warms up a bit, going to be in the mid to upper 70s. Texas and the American Southwest down here going to cool down some, so we're seeing less of those spotty areas of the 90s and 100s and more of just the widespread 80s. Down the West Coast pretty much remains the same. They've got a constant flow of cool water from Alaska down the coast, so pretty much year round they're looking pretty much at 70s and whatnot in California, and then up the the Pacific Northwest, you can see temperatures in the 50s to 60s. Moving on to low temperatures, so we see this Midwest area, the Great Lakes, getting down into the 30s, as well as this Pacific Northwest area getting into the 30s, some mountainous areas getting into the 20s. But the remainder of pretty much the rest of the country is going to be decently warm as overnight lows on Sunday. Temperatures hovering around the 50s for the rest of the country, unless you're in Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, it's not Arkansas, it's Arizona, and California, and you could see areas get into the 60s. So not much really to talk about in the temperature front. Pretty much during the daytime, most of the United States is going to stay above freezing, which is really good news. It could also be some bad news because of snow melt in certain areas. But we do need to warm up because planting season is out and about. So it's good news if you are a farmer. Now, moving on to the rain chances. So we've got a little low pressure system kind of sitting down here in the Kentucky, Tennessee area. And a warm front that kind of comes up north like this, which is going to bring rain to this Ohio River Valley area. And then we have this cold front that's going to kind of just travel up the East Coast here, which is going to bring heavier rain for parts of coastal Maine and some heavier rains just really along that cold front. And then the further away that you get from that low pressure system, the drier it's going to get. We also see a little disturbance up in the upper peninsula of Michigan, as well as Wisconsin and Montana, and a little sliver of South Dakota there. And then we get another system kind of push in, a little low pressure system here that's going to bring a wintry mix for the kind of elevated Rocky Mountain areas. And then also a rain chance for pretty much the remainder of this American Northwest area, stretching all the way from North Dakota all the way over to coastal California and Oregon, and a little spotty area of a wintry mix near Denver on Saturday. And that's just once again, just because they're in the mountaintops there. Florida also kind of seeing the aftermath of this system that kind of ravaged the Louisiana to really the West Virginia area in the days today and, well, Wednesday through Friday today. And so they're going to continue to get rain from that. And that's really what the rest of the system is just the depression, so to speak, of the really powerful storms that kind of tore their way from the interior of the country and the deep south up the East Coast. So moving on to Sunday precipitation. So Sunday precipitation is a little more widespread. And so we've got areas of Maine and the East Coast still dealing with that area of low pressure moving out. And so we've got areas in New York getting some heavier precipitation, and then the coastal areas getting more of a moderate precipitation in the form of rain. And then pretty much the remaining surrounding areas there are going to get some light precipitation. And then we see that little low pressure system continue to move east. My bad. And so we get a little band here through Kansas, Nebraska, all the way over to Lake Michigan. This little band of really heavy rain and some thunderstorms. Nothing really severe at this point. I'll update you if it does end up changing. And then we've got surrounding this area of moderate rain. We have, once again, it's a little more widespread this time, the wintry mix, but it's once again confined primarily to the mountains. So you won't, unless you live in the mountains, you're probably not going to experience this. And if you do live in the mountains, you're probably used to it. So then we've got areas of Nevada here that are also going to get this. Not exactly sure why. Maybe it has something to do with dropping nighttime temperatures in more of arid environments, bringing colder temperatures and then a wintry mix, whereas the surroundings are going to get rain and thunderstorms in certain areas. But that is what you guys are looking at. I'm also tracking our next best chance at severe thunderstorms, which should be around next Wednesday to Thursday if the upper air maps are correct. But if they are, we will be tracking that on Monday and on Wednesday. And I'll also have a video coming out on Sunday for Monday's forecast. I may also put out another video this weekend doing essentially the first like preliminary summer forecast. Or maybe if not summer, then a May-June forecast. Because sometimes forecasting a little ways out can be a little tricky. And so essentially we're falling into a weak El Nino, and so you can judge based on conditions prior on what your conditions are going to be this time around. It doesn't always hold up, but it does hold true for the most part. So anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope that you all have a really fantastic weekend. Thank you, and have a good one.